As you reach the address Larson gave you, you find yourself standing in front of what looks like an old garage. On the outside, the place looks as uninteresting as it gets. You'd think it abandoned, if not for the few barely working lights illuminating its shabby facade. Once you're inside, however, if there was ever a place worthy of being called a wretched hive of scum and villainy, this is probably it. The room is littered with drunks and crackheads, human and thin-blood alike, their minds lost in their cruel little worlds, bodies splayed out across the floor. D'Angelo leans over and whispers in your ear. I'll cover the back door. You stay near the front. Let's look around and see what we can find. Before you can ask what exactly you're supposed to be looking for, D'Angelo disappears into the shadows. So what? Cover the back? Alright. There's no hunger signs, so let's use Auspex. Focusing your senses, you plunge into the full spectrum of the room, hoping to hear someone, or something, worthy of attention. You regret it almost instantly. The room becomes a deafening echo chamber, a sea of babbling lunatics, muttered curses and drug-induced ramblings. You're almost ready to give up when a faint whisper catches your attention. A female voice, soft, trembling. The gift. He speaks to us. The blood speaks. A few words are enough to tell you you've just hit the jackpot. You follow the voice to its source, a young woman hunched in the corner of the room. As you walk towards her, D'Angelo emerges from the shadows right next to you. Nice catch. He kneels down beside her. You can tell he's trying to sound as comforting as possible, but with his gravelly timbre, it's not really working out. Yes, it is timbre. I'm a musician, I know these things. Hey, it's okay. We're not here to hurt you. Just want to talk. No, don't talk. Too loud, too loud. She seems halfway out of it. Looks like the lights are on, but whoever's inside is stumbling around after one hell of a bender. Alright, you like quiet. Got it. Can you tell me your name? Sana. That's what he called me. Suddenly, you hear the door swing open behind you. Even though the night is fairly warm, a cold chill runs down your spine. You look towards the entrance. There's a woman standing there, and something about her just screams kindred. Even though she seems comically overdressed for this situation, somehow you don't feel like cracking a smile. Whoever she is, you could tell she means business. She starts making her way to the back of the room, not making any effort to sidestep any of the junkies and drunks. They all know well enough to get out of her way. Acting out of bravery or sheer stupidity, you walk up to her. She looks at you as if you were something she had just scraped off her shoe. I wish. As soon as you open your mouth, her hand shoots out, grabbing you by the throat. The woman looks at you, tilting her head, as if examining a curious specimen of an insect. Suddenly, her eyes shift as she notices something behind you. Her face turns from disgusted curiosity to sheer annoyance. You. Oh, that hairdo. She is a monster. Hey, Val. That's my assistant you got there. Do you mind? She rolls her eyes. You feel the grip on your neck loosen and awkwardly fall to your feet. She makes her way towards D'Angelo, pushing you aside like a rag doll. Where is she? You're gonna have to be a bit more specific, darling. Don't play coy, Ginny. The manslayer. I know she's here. A blood hunt has begun. Order of the prince herself, the girl is to meet final death. Hold your horses, honey. I'm conducting an investigation under the auspices of the sheriff. That counts for something, too. Look, sweetie. I'm not here for some clip measuring contest. You want this to get ugly, be my guest. Otherwise, I suggest you step aside and let me do my job. By all means. He steps aside in a comically exaggerated fashion. You look to the corner where you last saw Santa, but find no trace of the girl. I'm gonna say Sana, so it doesn't sound like I'm saying Santa. Well, I'll be. Could swear she was just here. Valerie looks at D'Angelo. She smiles softly. You could tell she's trying very hard not to rip his head off. You'll regret this. Story of my life. Without another word, she turns on her heel and storms out. D'Angelo waves his hand in your general direction. Come on, kid. Let's get out of this shithole. As you emerge from said shithole, you feel the cool night air breeze caress your face. It's soothing and almost makes you forget how shitty the last few hours have been. Almost. Okay, kid. Though you got questions, but it's getting early. I don't feel like having a Q&A session right now. But now you got one question. Make it count. Valerie, huh? So, who the hell is she? She's a scourge, kid. Part enforcer, part assassin, all-around pain in the ass. She finds that girl before we do, never find out why she did what she did. Before you ask, yes, run into each other in the past. No, I don't feel like talking about it. Alright, kid. I don't know about you, but I'm turning in. Here's some stuff up. Keep looking for our girl. Feel free to swing by the office in a night or two. And with that, he stumbles off into the distance, not even bothering to keep to the shadows. Can't say you blame him. Really has been a rough night. And now, we rest. You're walking down the street towards your haven. Oh no, I don't like this. We need to speak. In some other town, the sidewalks would be deserted by this time of night. In NYC, there are plenty of passers-by going about their business. It's easy to be paranoid when you're a vampire surrounded by a crowd of humans. The kindred of many enemies. All those enemies have one trait in common. They're invisible, indistinguishable from normal humanity. Other vampires, hunters, all look like people. Is that old man just a tired restaurant worker? Or a kindred thrall tailing your movements? Are the officers idly waiting at a patrol car ordinary cops? Or Second Inquisition specialists looking to end undead threats? This kind of thinking leads to madness. But you can't shake the feeling someone is watching you. It's not the first time you felt like this. Following the queue of so many mortals around you, you stop at a street corner to casually survey your surroundings, as if you were trying to remember which turn to take. You look around ostensibly at street signs, but in reality, to see if someone is really following you. Down the street where you came from, a crowd of young, drunk men argue loudly about baseball. There's an indistinct figure standing behind them, almost impossible to notice. A woman, probably. The men unconsciously move around her as they start to walk away, still mouthing off at each other. Whatever this is, it's probably something you have to take care of. Best case, someone is tailing you. Worst case, you'll be attacked and killed. Unfortunately, being undead has its limitations. The sun is coming up soon, and you'll be burnt to a crisp if you stay on the streets. Reach your haven and settle in for the day, disconcerted by the idea that someone might know where you sleep. Oof. As you awake from your slumber and emerge from your haven for the night, you notice a familiar face on the other side of the street, standing in the corner and looking straight at you. It's Kaiser's lackey, whom you met recently, Jackie. He nods to you, encouraging you to approach. His hands are out of his pockets, and he seems pretty relaxed. He's keeping his eyes on the street, though, as if making sure you're alone. He smiles awkwardly when you approach. Evening. Got something for you from our mutual friend. He produces a crumpled piece of paper from his jacket pocket and hands it to you. Read it, memorize it, and give it back here. It's a letter. The paper might be just a page ripped out of a spiral notebook, but the reading on it is exquisitely detailed and deliberate. It reads, "Time to square the debt with me. Go to the wine shop at 232 Mulberry Street and ask for the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Amoro. They tell you they don't have it? Say you are fidele servitor della famiglia G. Those exact fucking words. Make sure you get the G right. You'll get a bottle. Just take it and leave by saying grazie. Don't ask how much it is or anything else. Just walk out. When you have it, come back to Jackie Boy here and let him know." You done? Memorize that shit and hand it over. Okay, well, I'm just gonna pull out my handy dandy phonerino and take a picture. There we go. Letters, passwords, what's all this cloak and dagger nonsense? That's how the boss likes it. Who am I to argue? I just do what he says. You about done with the letter? You note the phrases mentioned in the letter and the address, then hand the letter back to Jackie. He immediately reaches for a lighter and burns it, putting out the ashes with his boot. So yeah, when you do what the boss asks, come back here so I can tell you where to go next. I'll be in that alley over there. So find me when you have the item. Whatever it is. I don't know, and the boss made it extra clear that I shouldn't care. So I don't. See you. He shuffles away and leaves you to pursue the lead in the letter. Time to pay a visit to Nolita. You arrive at the address mentioned in the note. Not counting the local restaurant patrons, the street is mostly empty at this time of night. But curiously, the wine shop is still open. God, these backgrounds are gorgeous. Inside, a small middle-aged woman with curly hair stands behind the counter in front of an entire wall of wine bottles. There's a door at the end of the room, with a small table and a chair occupied by a man with slick, combed-back hair, who's dressed in a black faux leather jacket. He's reading a newspaper, but pauses as a little bell rings when you open the door. He takes a sip from a small, steaming cup, then gets back to his broadsheet. Alright, so he's probably not a vampire. Unless he did some weird processing shit to his blood. Good evening. How can I help you? Wow, got a big selection of wine. I'd say you wouldn't have a bottle of the... She gives you a curious look. Let me check. She seems to be looking through a database on the laptop sitting on the counter. She puts on a polite smile. I don't want to make an emergency call. I want to look at the image I just used to cheat. I'm afraid we don't have that one at the moment. Sorry. Hey, you can trust me. I'm a... She raises an eyebrow. Right. Let me check our stock in the back. The woman leaves the counter and goes through the doors in the back. The man by the table puts down his newspaper and takes another sip from the cup, washing it down with a gulp of water from the nearby glass. I don't trust that man. He's gonna pull out like an old school Tommy gun, and I'm gonna get the worst ending, the bad ending. He tries to hide it, but there's no doubt he's watching you. About a minute passes. So, how's your evening so far? The man looks at you with a smirk, but doesn't answer. The doors to the back of the store open, and the proprietor emerges with a small, unlabeled, squat bottle of crimson liquid. She gives you an apologizing smile. Scusi, sorry if you're taking so long. Turns out, I don't want to do an Italian accent. I guess I've been doing one, but, when they're actually Italian, it just feels offensive. She offers you the bottle and you reach out to grab it, but she retracts it. You do know what this is, don't you? You focus your blood. You immediately see both of the people in the shop focus intently on you and what you're about to say. I know exactly what this is, and I'm the right person to give it to. The woman makes a move to give you the bottle, but stops mid-gesture. No, I don't think so. The woman looks over to the guy at the stable, and he stands up. You decide there won't be a better time and snatch the bottle from her hands. The man draws a gun from a side holster, and as you make a run for it, several more gunmen pour from the back door. Shots ring out, piercing your undead flesh, but you're fast, and most miss their mark. By the time you make it out on the street and lose the pursuit, you all have a few new bullet holes to patch up. The bottle is, thankfully, intact. Good lord. That was wasn't it? Might have been a Tommy gun. I don't know, might have been a baby Tommy gun. A Timmy gun. Aw. Takes you some time to find a parking spot. But finally, you get out of the car and start looking for Jackie. He's not far from where you parted ways just under 2 hours ago. Got the goods? Got it, but here's a hassle. Oh, boo-hoo. Stick around, gotta make the call. Takes a few more steps into a narrow space between two buildings. Takes out the same high-tech phone you saw him carry the last time. Hey, boss? Yeah, they have it. What do I point them to? Okay. Y'all told him to go there right away. He puts the phone back inside his pocket and turns back to you. Well, it's point. Half an hour, so you better step on it. See you around. With just a flippant salute, Jackie starts walking down the street. You make your way back to the car and drive. You had to push the speed limit to make it on time, but you're here. Well, its point is quite a change of scenery. The place is a post-industrial dump, a nearby stadium notwithstanding. You stop your car once you realize that if you go any further down, the potholes are going to kill your chassis. You step out into one of the gashes in the asphalt, splashing the ankle-deep water. Kaiser's limo's nowhere to be seen. This has got a bit of setup, isn't it? The whole place is pretty much deserted, other than the apparent proprietor of a lonely bar, a middle-aged woman who's just locking the place up. It's too perfect of an opportunity to not take advantage of. See, I know it's probably a setup. Lamar doesn't. She's walking to her car, ready to call it a night, when you sneak up on her. She's far too tired to resist your strong hold and swift bite. You can taste the caffeine in her veins, smell the cheap cigarettes in her hair, the old cooking grease in her clothes. She passes out. You assault the closing note of a long day at work. You let her down gently, feel a pang of remorse. You pick up the car keys she dropped and place her in the driver's seat. She'll find an explanation for passing out like this, for sure. The bright lights of a car pulling up down the road illuminate you as you close the door. It's a black limo. Kaiser is finally here, it would seem. Same as last time, the car doors open, but nobody comes out. You know the drill. This time, Kaiser's visible the first time you look inside. You sit down and close the door behind you.
There was a shootout at Mulberry. I told you to keep to the fucking script, didn't I? You have the bottle. Give it here.
You hand the bottle over to the Nosferatu. He uncorks it gently, takes a whiff, puts the cork back in.
Yeah, that's the stuff. See, that wasn't so hard. Consider your debt paid. Oh yeah, also have this. It's what Langley wanted.
He passes you an envelope with what feels like a thick card inside. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser.
Yeah. I'll send Jackie over if I'll need anything else from you. How about that? Time for you to get out now.
Dickhead. He waves you out of the car. With the envelope in hand, you get out back into the torn asphalt and decrepit surroundings. The limo slowly drives away. Finally, you could return to Sophie and bring her what she wanted. Gregory let you in. You hear a shrill, unpleasant laugh. Realize Sophie's having a guest over. Oh, what's his name? Arturo? Thomas Arturo. Yeah, I got it right. You met in Elysium a few nights back. Oh, Lamar, so glad to see you. Tell me, did you two have a chance to talk before? Thomas speaks out before you can. Why, yes, of course. Such a good first impression you made, too. Miss Langley clearly did the right thing by taking you under her wing. I'm sure she thinks so, too, don't you, Sophie? Why, of course, Of course you do, of course. Well, I believe I've got to be going. I'll be sure to let Prince Panhard know your thoughts, Miss Langley. Word for word. Or as close as I can remember them. I appreciate it, Thomas. You two enjoy your night now. Good night, Sophie. Lamar, Greggy boy. Oh, Greggy boy. The pipes are calling. He's, quite the character, isn't he? Yes, quite. But he has his uses. Thomas has clout in court, and access to many juicy details on everyone from the prince to the lowliest primogen. It's useful to have him on your side, even if his eccentricity requires some patience. Speaking of patience, you have been putting mine to the test lately. Did you manage to contact Kaiser and acquire what I asked for? I have it. Gave me this card. Apologies for keeping you waiting. See, here's the thing, Lamar is good in social situations. He kind of had to be in like the art community, but he's still not used to like the shady shit. So that's why I don't think Lamar would have thought like, oh, I'm definitely getting set up. Someone's gonna come out and shiv me with a stake. So yeah, that's kind of my thought process for most of his choices. She retrieves the envelope from you. What's important is that you have it. Did he give you trouble? Made me go on an entire separate escapade to retrieve a bottle of wine from a store in Alita. I'd use code phrases and whatnot. Wine shop. Code phrases? Degenerate pest. He's visibly agitated, but calms down and smiles at you. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that whatever Kaiser had you do, it'll blow over. She opens the envelope and looks at the card. You notice the same lettering you saw in Kaiser's note from before, but you can't see the details. Her eyes widen. Yes. Excellent. I need to call in some favors. I will likely be busy for the next few nights. You have my permission to show some initiative, my dear George. I will contact you soon. With that, Sophie ushers you outside. I'm assuming that means as you are left, to do with the rest of the night's hours as you like. Alright. What the hell? I always feel like somebody's watching me. Alright, we're gonna do this. And tomorrow we'll go to D'Angelo. Someone is following you around. Has been for a few nights. Maybe longer. That can't be a good thing. Only question is, what do you do about it? I'm telling Sophie first, honestly. There's clearly something more serious than what you could figure out on your own. You have to ask Sophie for help. She must have experience with all kinds of stalkers, visible or not. You make your way to Sophie's apartment, feeling watched the whole way. It would be better if you could shake the tail, but something tells you that's impossible. A ghoul let you into Sophie's apartment. You're not sure how many servants she has, but their servility creeps you out. Does vampire blood do that to people? Or is it just Sophie's personality? The ghoul tells you that Sophie is not in and bids you to wait in the living room. You do as directed, settling down on a sofa. As you sit, contemplating Sophie's decor, you feel strange, as if the feeling of being followed on the street never really left you. You don't have time to think more on this, because Sophie strides in, clearly in a good mood. Yeah, I'm about to ruin it. Oh, if it isn't my favorite stray. Am I imagining it, or have you started to dress a little better? You stand up, too worried to waste time on small talk. I'm being followed. Some creep has been telling me for a few nights now, and I can't shake 'em. So you led them here. I appreciate your initiative. This is a cause for concern, to be sure. In fact, Sophie looks around the room, suddenly startled. Can't believe it. As Sophie stands up, ready to face whatever danger she senses, an invisible force pushes aside her servant standing in the doorway. You hear the door to Sophie's apartment open and close. Sophie sighs and settles back down as the ghoul disappears into the hallway in a vain effort to catch the stalker. I suppose I should scold you. In a town full of Malkavians and Nosferatu, that's probably useless. Sometimes this happens. This is embarrassing. You should be careful. I'll assign one of my servants to watch your haven. You leave Sophie's apartment, chastened and confused. Your invisible orlocks and gestures could follow you anywhere. How are you supposed to stop it? Perhaps it's all part of the game kindred seem to play with each other. Hard to say if that makes it better or worse. Damn it.